Good day, everybody. So good to see everybody's smiling faces. Here's another dose of TOK because you know what they say, a TOK video a day keeps the insanity away during your indoor stay through the month of May. Who says that? Well, everybody. Well, we can't pillage time with poetry here because we have a lot to discuss. We'll make this as short as possible because I don't want to steal any more time away from you doing whatever it is that you do. No sarcasm there whatsoever. In my mind, you're all upstanding citizens building hospitals and orphanages and finding a vaccine for the coronavirus. Yeah, that's what you're doing with your time. Anyway, we've already established what criteria one needs to meet to be considered an expert. And then we saw that whether we collectively trust experts depends on location and history. And at the end of last video, I left you with this Batman-style cliffhanger.
So you wanted to outsmart me, hey? But you can't outsmart the machinery in this factory. And soon you'll be the first two human frosty freezes in history. Wild!
Can this be happening? Batman being made into a pineapple frosty freezy, and Robin into a lime one? Has the diabolical Mr. Freeze outwitted the dynamic duo after all? With some fancy ice work? Hope for a miracle, and stay frozen in your seats. Until tomorrow, same time, same channel.
I pose the question, why don't we, as individuals, trust experts? Saying somebody doesn't believe in vaccinating their kids or climate change because they're American doesn't quite work. There's some psychological things involved. There's some epistemological things going on as well. That is, some of this has to do with the nature of knowledge and information and how it works. That is the fish we are gonna fry today. Why might that person right there, or you, or I, not trust experts? 6 reasons, lightning quick. Obscurity, arrogance, contradictions, overpopulation, lies, and objectionable. Yeah, I tried to make them all O's to make it more memorable, but that was way too hard. As you can see, I gave up after the second one. We'll take obscurity, arrogance, and contradictions in this video and save the other 3 for later. Obscure means complicated, confusing, or cryptic. Oh, I did the alliteration thing with the C's there. People don't trust experts because they might be too difficult to understand. They use big technical words like anti-disestablishmentarianism, or photoredox catalysis, and triangle. Math teachers and their technical language nobody understands. These big words scare people because, as Superman's human dad says,
people are afraid of what they don't understand.
Is she right? Did God do this to me? Tell me.
I'm going to ignore Kid Superman's question there. That's metaphysics. This class is epistemology. So, moving on. Experts know they use big words, of course. So, what they do is change the language based on who they are talking to. If they're talking to other experts, they let loose the jargon. They bloviate and perorate and use all the fancy language they can in front of their friends and colleagues. In front of the public, whoa, let's dumb that language down a bit. Experts, if they want the general public to accept their knowledge, will change their communication devices to make their messages more agreeable or acceptable. What do they use? Well, analogies or metaphors are one tool they use. Analogies are comparisons between one thing and another thing that is fairly dissimilar. The trick with analogies is that one of the things in the comparison is a familiar concept that serves as a map to understanding the target concept, that is, the thing to be explained or understood. Your teachers use analogies all the time. When you were learning about the circulatory system, your teacher might have said, blood goes through blood vessels like water through a pipe. As a kid, you were familiar with water going through a pipe, so your teacher used a familiar concept as a map to trace how blood and blood vessels work. And here, we use the analogy of a business to explain how knowledge is produced, tested, communicated, and so on. Of course, these analogies don't always work. They can oversimplify things, or they can give people the wrong idea. There have been a lot of analogies regarding the coronavirus lately. It's a mistake to think that it's like the flu, even though Trump said this very thing at one point. It's not. Or that this outbreak is analogous to the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. Maybe, but then again, maybe not. Analogies are a great tool when used properly. Disaster strikes, though, when used incorrectly. A chainsaw is a wonderful tool, but many idiots have used one and walked away with one less arm. How do you like that analogy? Experts can also use charts, graphs, or other visuals to help non-experts accept their knowledge. We are a visual culture. We like pictures, and pictures can explain a lot. Would you rather read this entire article, or just look at the graphs that sum up the material in one clean shot? Yeah, graphs are cool. Charts, graphs, infographics, and other visuals are wonderful vehicles of information, but they too can be simplistic. Many times the chart or graph will tell you what, but they won't necessarily tell you why. And the why might be super important. You might actually need to read the text to figure out the why.
Recap. Some individuals might not trust experts because they talk funny. They might be too obscure or use big words that are kind of scary. Next, individuals might not trust experts because of arrogance. And no, I'm not talking about the arrogance of the expert, although that could play a factor. I'm talking about the arrogance of the non-expert. People think they are way smarter than they are. They have an overinflated sense of knowledge. Non-experts tend to drink the Dunning-Kruger Kool-Aid.
You've probably heard the line from your friend lately. Of course, you would never start a sentence like this. But they said, I read this article recently that said, and then your friend went on to pretend they were some Oxford professor in front of a 300-seat lecture hall pontificating on the finer points of epidemiology. Yeah, friend, you reading an article on BuzzFeed doesn't make you an expert. And let's be honest, you probably didn't even read the whole article even. We tend to gain a false sense of security in our knowledge about a topic after just learning about it ourselves. We are proud of ourselves for getting learned up, but many times we become a little too proud to the point where we think we know more about a topic than somebody who has dedicated their entire life to it. Up to the point where we might try to correct the expert. Well, actually, according to this Vox video I watched, yeah, shut up. And we think our education makes us experts as well. I was talking the other day with somebody about the pandemic and they dropped this gem. I took this class in college in biology and the environment, and I remember talking about viruses. So I know a little about this stuff. No, you do not. We think that taking a course in college or a college degree in general makes you smart. That's what dumb people say. Many commentators say that a college degree has depreciated in value, meaning it means a lot less than it used to. College has become something everybody does, more of an experience than an education, and simply a consumer-driven business in many cases. Your college degree doesn't mean you're special. It doesn't mean you're necessarily smart. It certainly doesn't automatically make you an expert in anything, let alone everything.
The internet has made us more bold in our ignorance. Doctors see this all the time. People coming in and telling them how to do their job, saying, well, I was reading on WebMD, or lawyers who have clients who don't take their advice. You passed third grade, so you think you can teach third grade. No, you can't. You think it is easy and that you can do it and be an insta expert at this, and you simply cannot. So the second reason individuals don't trust experts is because they think they are smarter than they are, smarter than the experts, because they read some article or saw some video or have a diploma. The third reason individuals might not trust experts is because they see contradictions everywhere among the experts. With all these contradictions, non-experts conclude that either they can't tell which one is telling the truth and so they simply give up trying, or that experts just aren't that smart anyway.
We see this most clearly in nutrition studies. 1 week, red meat is bad for you. Then the next week, somebody did a study and the only thing you should be eating is red meat. And then a month later, another study was done and said if you eat red meat today, you should expect to die in 3 to 4 weeks.
What is going on here? And who is a non-expert supposed to trust? Even though we see a lot of these flip-flops or contradictory studies in nutrition, similar things can be found in psychology and other fields. If you're in psychology right now, you may have run across the famous social priming study where people who read old-sounding words like nursing home were more likely to walk slowly, showing our brains can be subtly primed with thoughts and actions. Well, new studies show this might not be true. Why these contradictory studies arise needs a whole other video, but know it has to do with methodology, measurements, and interpretation. For our purposes, contradictory studies result in individuals not trusting experts.
We have 3 more to go, but we're gonna take a slight break. Well, I'm gonna take a break at least. You're gonna keep working. What you're going to do now is find an example on YouTube of a person exhibiting one of the 3 reasons an individual might not trust an expert discussed here. We looked at obscurity. Experts use complicated language not easily understood by the non-expert. We looked at arrogance. Non-experts think they're just as smart as the expert. And we looked at contradictions. Experts in their precious studies tend to contradict each other all the time, so why would you even trust them? Go find that video, keep working, get busy.